me about this, because now when you're an independent now.
Yeah.
So what does that say? That to me, it says that you think the Republican Party is unsavable.
Unsavable. Oh, no doubt about it.
Because otherwise you would want to stay on, right, and
Right.
reform it. But you think
It can't be saved.
it cannot be saved. Never argued with that. I've never argued that of a false equivalency. I just said there is misinformation from both sides.
Well, sorry.
So I lived through COVID. Don't tell me there wasn't misinformation.
But there's a difference between...
I lived through stupid policies based on bad information and stifled information.
Imagine this then. On MSNBC, a heated argument breaks out, and it's, well, chaotic.
You haven't changed. So you consider yourself a liberal, right?
I consider myself an old school liberal. You have to make that distinction now, because, you know, the word woke, which started out as a good thing, being alert to injustice, and a lot of people get triggered by the word because when they hear it, they think of it the old meaning, which was good.
Right.
You know, stay woke. But I'm sorry, language is a living, breathing entity. Words change and they migrate and they take on a different meaning. And woke now has to answer for, or for people have just used the word to ascribe a number of extreme things.
Consider a verbal altercation between Joe Scarborough and Bill Maher on Donald Trump. Additionally, it feels like entering a raging political fire.
Kamala's big, I think, challenge here to win over the undecided voters is to convince them that she's not part of what they suspect she might be, sort of a stealth version of the worst excesses of the left. I said there's a coalition of Trump voters, people who really like him. They certainly are those. And then there's people who don't necessarily like him that much, but they still think he's less crazy than stuff that strikes them as aggressively anti-common sense.
Right.
That takes place on the left.
Right. So
that's why they keep running that ad about sex changes in prison. You know, like
at every football game.
Could you get every foot? That's
every football game.
Could you get more third rail words into one?
You know, Scarborough's incessant tirade about Trump is something that Bill Maher, with his keen sense of humor, finds himself standing against. This conflict, this isn't just another moment on TV, it's dynamite.
I'm sad that he was going to use the military and the National Guard to arrest his political opponents. He was asked if he would back off of that.
He said no.
And he said no. Yep. In fact, he doubled down. He talked about Nancy Pelosi being evil, her husband being evil, Schiff being evil, talking about arresting them. He said he was going to execute the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff because he was disloyal to him. He told another chief of staff who was a general, I wish my generals were like Hitler's.
Scarborough distorts Trump's statements, portraying him as a villain from a Hollywood production. However, Maher, he breaks through the clutter and reveals the explosive nature of the media's game. Have you ever wondered what just happened when you felt the world turn upside down? It's a ride for you. Hey, click the subscribe button if you enjoy content that is honest and defies convention. Completed? Welcome on board. Entering this media frenzy, Maher and Scarborough are illuminating the screen, making it seem like a chess game where the pieces are flying off the board. Scarborough charges Trump with threatening Pelosi and preparing for a military takeover. Maher, however, doesn't believe it. He adds a cool, sharp voice to the commotion. Although Trump's strategies are frequently referred to be authoritarian, Maher highlights the flaws in the theory. The spin of the media. They've twisted his statements to fit the plot, as if they've determined he's the villain no matter what. This is about engulfing viewers in a whirlwind of indignation, not simply about Trump.
The left, they don't want to acknowledge progress because it interferes with virtue signaling. To say, we've come a long way, which we have.
It's okay to say that.
It's okay to say it's okay. But somehow you're a better person if you say, but there's work to be done. Of course there's work to be done. There's always work to be done. We're humans. We're on Earth. There's always going to be work to be done. But let's be realistic about where.
The media, particularly MSNBC, has a tendency to highlight Trump's shortcomings while downplaying other people's mistakes.
On the one hand, understand you benefited from racism if you're white. There's no doubt about it. And that has to be addressed. It can't be ignored.
Right.
But also, I didn't personally do it. there's a middle ground there. It's very difficult.
Two things can be true at one time.
And they are both true at one time.
Right.
I'm not personally responsible, but did I benefit? Yes, I'm sure I did. People our age definitely did.
Right.
And so if we can all agree on things like that, we could then come up with sensible policy.
Consider Trump's suggestion of military action against political rivals. Undeniably concerning. But the picture shifts when Maher confronts Scarborough, highlighting the selective facts and missing context. The real issue, how the media stirs. Outrage with every soundbite, often more damaging than the headline itself. Trump is constantly portrayed as the disruptor, while equally outrageous comments from the left are often ignored. Context? Usually tossed aside. With Trump, it's a steady stream of clips designed to provoke anger and hate. Yes, his rhetoric. His controversial but selective outrage sells. It turns him into the villain of a never-ending soap opera. Behind the scenes, it's all strategic omission. Maher strongly rejects Scarborough's idea that misinformation from other media giants is harmless. He points to real cases like the Hunter Biden laptop and the Russia collusion saga, examples of how misinformation isn't one-sided. Remember how networks ran with the "fine people" quote without full context, or how Hunter Biden's controversies were buried until they couldn't be ignored? That's the double standard. Trump's loud persona makes him an easy target, but Scarborough's dismissal of left-wing scandals reveals a deeper media bias. And Maher, he drives it home when he starts calling out wokeness.
Groups over the past couple of days of Trump voters who still would support him, who say things like, I like Donald Trump because of where he stands. I can't even say with a straight face on the issues. Now you tell me, what the fuck does that mean? What does he, what issues? Like what issues does this guy share with
Maher portrays woke as an ingrained worldview that is currently impacting legislation, rather than merely referring to it as a cultural fad. The actual issue? It is being used as a weapon to exert control. Waked culture is tightly held in both academia and entertainment, and anyone who questions it is met with severe criticism. Maher criticizes the media echo chamber that supports this selective anger. The narrative ignores how comparable tales may be told about left-leaning characters in favor of supporting Trump's villainous persona. The outcome? It becomes almost impossible to have a productive political discussion. Outrage, not policy, drives sides and discourse becomes more fragmented. This method allows networks like MSNBC to transform skewed viewpoints into headlines that further polarization. It certainly increases ratings, but it obliterates fair discussion. Furthermore, you're playing a risky game when you continue to tell the story without providing all the facts, as Maher cautions. Thus, the question arises, should the media pursue the truth, even if doing so conflicts with their story? Or is spin now just the game's name? What did you think of Maher's takedown of Scarborough's claims? Let us know in the comments. And while we're at it, shouldn't we expect more from our media than spin and half-truths? Are today's narratives really telling the full story, or just what fits the agenda? Drop your thoughts below. We want to hear from you. Your voice matters, so let's get the conversation going.